Basketball season was underway, of course. It was getting towards Thanksgiving. And we had a basketball game scheduled. I believe school was going to close on Wednesday at the end of the day, and then we had the basketball game later that night. Might have been on a Tuesday, but I think it was Wednesday. And anyway, Don and I talked about the fact that Tom and Peggy Wood, our dear friends from Phillips days and then from our Army days, the Korean part of the Army deal, that they were in Denver, and by golly, why don't we just go out over Thanksgiving and see them? So we had that all planned. Going to leave the next morning after I got home from the game that night. Well, in the meantime, the weather was threatening. In fact, the radio that morning said that the storm was really bad down in Texas and New Mexico and was headed up our way. Well, you know, you get used to storms. That wasn't exciting news. So I was quite surprised when in the middle of the morning, Superintendent Wagaman came to my classroom and signaled for me to step outside for a minute. And he said, your game has been canceled. He said, the storm is really fierce and it's coming in fast. And as a safety measure, the game has been canceled and we're going to close school here in about an hour and send the kids home. Boy, at the end of that class, I had 4 or 5 minutes between classes. I headed for the office, grabbed the telephone, called Donna, told her what was going on, and we quickly reached the agreement that, well, let's get out ahead of the storm. We'll leave as soon as you get home. Boy, we'd done some packing already, and she said, I'll have it ready to go, and I suppose she told me she'd have a sandwich for me. Because sure enough, school dismissed. I ran home. I think she even had the kids in the car. Man, I'm telling you, we headed out of Coates, had to go a little bit north to get over on the highway, and it was amazing. The wind had come up, and the tumbleweeds. I'd never seen tumbleweeds in the numbers that had blown loose from somewhere, and here they were coming across the fields and across the road. At first, you kind of wanted to slow down each time you're going to have a tumbleweed. You finally figured out, hey, they're not going to hurt you. Just keep going. Eerie scene. And, you know, with the storm coming in, the sun was not shining normally, and it made you wonder, is this a smart move or not? But being young and dumb, yeah, we're going. Well, later, when I saw Star Wars and Dr. Zhivago, and they had those scenes where they were trying to make clear about devastation and threat and the whole world going nuts, I thought about the scene that we were surrounded by when the whole world seemed to be on a move around us as we left Coates on our way to Denver. As we got on further west, we kind of drove out of it. A few tumbleweeds, but few and far between, and not the eerie, strange environment and light. I guess we, in essence, got to the leeward side of the storm. Well, we enjoyed our visit with Tom and Peg. Now, I can't say for sure, but it seems to me that maybe Peggy was still a patient at Letterman Army. I think maybe she was. And Tom was working for the Army. They had made a deal with him that if he would work for the Army, they would stay in the Army. If he'd stay active in the Army, they would assign him to Fitzsimmons and put his wife in that Fitzsimmons Hospital tuberculosis ward where they were prepared to handle and cure people with tuberculosis. Enjoyed seeing them. We enjoyed seeing Denver. We'd never been to Denver before. It's quite a city. It was then, probably even more so now. But the biggest news for the Riggs family was we decided to splurge and make our first big post-war purchase, a television. Now think of that, kids. This is now 19 53-54 school year, Thanksgiving, and we get our first television. Put up an aerial. I think we got maybe 2 or 3 stations. But it was a big deal. Big deal. Big deal for us to have television. Incidentally, a year or 2 later, Donna recalls hearing Rhonda say to Roy, tells you what they were advertising then, just like a lot of the crap they advertise now. Roy, what brand of cigarettes are you going to smoke when you grow up? Roy said, I don't know. Well, Rita said, I'm going to try them all. Television does a lot of things, but it does some bad things along with some good things. That little kid convinced that cigarettes are great. She just wanted to try them all. We enjoyed that television for years, and of course now we'd think we were terribly abused if we didn't have television.